Diane Kornick from Paint and Porcelain Exchange. I'm here to teach beginners how to get started in China painting, and for those of you that have been painting for a while, hopefully to give you some new projects to work on. I've been working on a ton of different things, and I'm hoping that I can share a lot of these with you this year. The first one, of course, is going to be our, it's called Birds and Berries. It's Winter Birds and Berries, and that's this one. Now, I'm going to bring it real close so you can see the pen work and everything that's done on this. This is going to be awesome. And you see how there's a little bit of snow, like right here on the branches? That's why when we talk about background, I'm going to want you to be very, very careful in how dark you make your background if you're not using mother of pearl luster. I want to kind of go back to some of the basics just briefly so that I can catch people up if you're watching this for the first time. I thought at first, oh, I'll just do the line drawing this time and then we'll just paint it in next time. Well, it would have worked, except that the Stabilo will build up on my pen because it's a kind of a greasy pencil, and you know, like the grease pencils were. And so it kind of clogs the ink and makes it very difficult to just trace the outline. So I was going to do the pen work first and then color it in. And I'll show you what I mean by that. That's here. See, I was going to do this pen work first and then color it in. But because I did it with that pen, or even if you do it with a Sharpie, this is a Sharpie, you can use a permanent Sharpie, fine point. There's fine point. But even if you did it with the Sharpie, I think what you would find is that it would build up on your pen and it would just be frustrating for you. So for oils, what do I use for oils? I use Terpenoid Natural to paint with. And it has a green covering. There are two kinds of Terpenoid. There's Terpenoid, regular Terpenoid, and Terpenoid Natural. This one has the oils in it, so it makes it easier to paint with. And then I use turpentine. I like turpentine. I'm not allergic to it, and this one doesn't have much smell to it. So if you're allergic, it's called Etrek, I guess, and it's Gum Spirits Turpentine, and it has very little smell to it. I get this at Dick Blick. I live near a Dick Blick, so I get all of my supplies there. If you don't have that, another thing that I've used in the past is half mineral oil and half balsam of copaiba, and that seems to work pretty well. Or you could just use any of the oils that they sell for China painting, that's fine. I mix my paints on my palette with mineral oil, and they last a long, long time. So I like using the mineral oil for that. Now, if you're new to China painting and you want to know how to mix your paints and all of that, rather than have everybody, on here go through that process, I'm simply going to tell you that 90% of my lives are on YouTube. And so this is the link. And if you go in there, you can search. And here is one that I think would really help you. If you're brand new to China painting, it's called Basics, China Painting Basics. And if you click on the link that I just put up, it'll take you there, and it'll walk you through all of the basics so that you know how to mix your paint, how to start painting, how to load your brush, and all that kind of thing. So that's all really important. Now, if you're going to be doing the bird with us, you can do it one of two ways. You can either do it this way with and you see the background I have on here? It's two different kinds of luster. It's mother of pearl, followed by blue pearl. The first bird I did, it was very sparse. And on this bird, as you can see, there's a lot of it. So when you're positioning your line drawing, one thing I will remind you is if you did the luster, try to position it, your line drawing, so that your little bird doesn't have a lot of the background blue or the darker luster on him. And I think it will be easier for you to paint him. Also, there are going to be sections where you put snow. And like this one, I think is okay. This one I may have a problem with because the blue is a little dark, but this one's fine. So try to position it so the snow and the little bird have at the least luster behind them. If you use regular paint on this, one thing I recommend is that you do a very light coating at first. So if you start out, do a light gray or a very light blue. You can always darken it after you get the bird and everything in place, but that will help you. Colors I'm using, and you can use anything close. It doesn't have to be these colors. I have egg, I have Copenhagen, I have a dark blue, or you could use a navy. I have a black, but that's mainly for next time, and I'll probably mix it up with my pen oil. Reflected light, carnation. These two are very similar, so if you only have one, that's fine. They're good reds to use with yellows because they don't tend to burn out. This is South Brown, which is, or you can use a dark orange, that works too. And orange yellow. I hadn't really come across it until recently, and I was really remarkably surprised at how well it transitions you from the oranges or the reds into the yellows. So if you're going to put oranges and reds and yellows next to each other, and you use orange yellow, and I'll show you where I used it on here. So on here, I used it right in here in between the two, and neither one burned out. So that might also help you. On him, I think I did mainly oranges. I didn't do a lot of reds, but that may also help. Brushes. I'm only using 3. They're pretty simple. I like Sharf. These are Sharf brushes. So I have, I think this is about a 10. This one is a 1/4 inch. Oh, this one's a 3/4 inch, 1/4 inch. And then I have a liner, and that's really all I'm going to use for this. I don't need more than that. So if you've done the background in luster, do not sand it. You don't need to sand it. What you need to do is take, according to Nancy Bergman, you take a paper towel or rag, wet it with water, and just wipe it off so that you get off all the dust and the soot that forms when you fire. If you've done it with the paint, then what you want to do is you want to take and I spray it with alcohol. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I think it cleans off anything from my fingers or anything from, laying around, and I get a better application of my paint after I do that. I'm going to start out by using my 3/4 inch brush. Let me do the little bird first. I think that'll be better. Start with the yellow and just do his little beak. Just do it a solid color. Remember, we're going to outline everything. So really, just painting it in a solid color, even over the luster, is fine. And if you need to add more color or less color to it, that's fine. And then I'm going to turn it around a little bit. And this is where it gets tricky. Sometimes I go out of frame, but I don't think I will. And I'm going to do the outside of this wing with yellow. And I'm going from a yellow to a red or an orange. Now, it's different painting on luster, I think you will find. It just feels a little bit different. I don't really think it's tremendously different. Now I've got a little yellow-orange on here. See the difference in the color? But I think the yellow-orange really helps transition it to the newer color. So, and then I'm going to flip them back this way. And I'm going to go to orange. I'm trying to do kind of an ombre effect. So this is my Southwest orange. Need a little, oops, almost did the wrong thing there. There we go. That's a Southwest orange. And then finally, I'm going to put a little bit of carnation in there. Oops, come here. There we go. There we go. And then I'm going to clean off my brush, put a little oil on it, and just lightly try to, oops, I don't want to blend the colors quite that much. So let me get my yellow back here. There we go. And just turn it as I blend. This, I love this table. I use it even when I'm doing acrylics because I just think it's fabulous, but that's just me. Now I'm taking a Q-tip and just going around the edges where I got out of the line, because you're going to be putting a line around this. And what you want to do is make sure that you don't impinge on, the color that you're trying to use. Now on the other side here, I'm going to do a yellow orange down at the base, only because it's a little brighter. And then I'm going to do Southwest Brown with a side load of carnation and come up here and just put it around. It's a very easy project. If you're new to China painting, this is one that you don't have to worry about. You can do it. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. The whole idea with this is that you can wipe things off. That's one of the best things about China painting. Now, on my bird, gotta clean out my brush a little. There's a little bit of yellow kind of right here. So I'm going to do that. And then, because I want him to be black, I'm going to take my liner and I'm going to start doing his feathers. Now, if it doesn't work with my liner, I'll use a pointer. This is what a pointer is. This is a liner, the long, thin one. And my pointer is this one. And it's not quite as long and thin. And it gives you kind of the same effect. So you really won't have a problem. I'm going to go into my black. Let's start with the eye, because the eye is really important. Okay, I'm going to make the eye by making it round. I'm going to leave a little white around it. I want to make sure it's round, though. My hand's shaking a little today, so it's not quite as easy. That's why another reason I like using this. I can rest my hand a lot easier. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to start making his feathers. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. In fact, I probably should start at the bottom and work up so they overlap. And you have to think about that. Is that what you want? You want them to overlap? Yes, I want them to overlap. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to work my way up. Now, if these don't come out a real dark black, that's perfectly fine. So now I'm defining where I want the feathers down at the bottom. A little bit around his face. And then I'm going to take and do them around the top of him, his head. And I'm going to try to get them dark, but you've got another coat. So don't spend a lot of time on this one. Leave a little space between them too, so that they look a little fluffy. Remember, we want an oriental kind of look to this, so it's going to be a little bit different than you're used to when you do the feathers, I'm sure. Okay. And I want to do them away from his head. There we go. I'll do them around the eye. Let me just go around the eye. And see how I made that blob there? That's okay. Blobs are okay. First fire, you've got your Q-tips, and the best Q-tips, if you haven't gotten them yet, I never used to like these, but I do now, are these pointy ones, because see, here, I'll show you out. Here, I can come and just wipe that away, and it looks fine again. So always leave a little more white than you think you need to, and the main reason for that is because you're not going to, you're not going to have to fill it all in on this. You still have another time to fill everything in. So if you're new to painting and you're a little bit worried about doing this, just take your time. I'm pulling away here because I think it just works a little better. You should always paint towards yourself, but I have a few exceptions. This is one of them. Sometimes it steadies my hand to pull away and hold the brush this way. So do what works for you. Okay. And then I'm just going to kind of just sort of play a little here. Get it just the way I want it. Okay, I want this a little smaller up here. Well, let's just take it off, shall we? There. So see, if you don't like it, you don't have to keep it. I want a few little hairs sticking out here and there just so he looks kind of realistic. There we go. Maybe one or two up in here. There we go. And this one I'll kind of cut back a little. Okay. Alrighty, so that's him done there. And now I'm going to do his tail. His tail has a, oops, I don't have a tail on here. Well, his tail was right here, so let me draw it in so you can see it. Yeah, when you're covering things, coloring things, you have to, oh, I see it's still there, but it's in the red. See, that's how the red came. It was so light, you really couldn't see it. So there's his tail, and I'm just going to come down this side of his tail and make it black. So look at the study, or the color picture that I had there for you, and use that as a guide to where you put the color on this little guy. And that should help a lot. And I'm just going to kind of outline his tail a little because I'm concerned that if I don't, I will lose it. So I'm just going to take this. That's why I use this. There we go. And then down here, I'm just going to take and just kind of outline it. So that when this fires, I know where things should be. Okay? All right. Now, his little feet are yellow. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use my liner for, my scroller for that. And I'm just going to put his little feet in with the color. Now, the reason we're doing the color and not the pen work is because this pen that I had to finally put on here in order to be able to see the line drawing, I think would have perhaps gotten gummed up. In fact, I know it would. So I'm trying to avoid that. Now here, I think I'm going to put a little, see, you can come back like this too. And then if you don't like it, you can always change back and add more in or wait until the next fire. Sometimes you have to walk away from what you've done and just wait. There we go. Okay, now for the branches, I'm going to start with the berries. No, I better start with the branches because I want to put the berries over the branches. So I am going to use my liner, and I am going to use black. So up in here, just going to put in a little down here, here and here, here. If it's too dark, I'll show you what to do because I think some of this is a little too dark for me on the first fire. Okay. This one's a little too thick, so I'm just going to thin him down. I want it very fine going out there. And it's a branch, so it can be a little bit odd. Now I am going to use my pointer because I think it makes a little better berries. I'm using reflected light on my berries. It's very similar to the red. I think it fires better on the first fire though. So I'm not doing anything too spectacular. I'm just putting the color around and trying to leave some kind of a highlight. If the highlight's too much on this time, that's fine. You can't get it back later. And I will, if it's too much, I can always fill it in more on the next time. Now I find if you use the paint over the luster, what you get is you do need a little more oil from time to time. It just seems like it works better. You don't need to shade these berries or anything. Just put them on. Very easy project. We're going to turn around and put a couple up here too. Okay, all right. And the final thing on this is to shade, and I'll show you here. Here's my bird that I'm looking at while I'm doing this, is to shade the underside of the underside of the branch. I used a Copenhagen for that, and a little bit under the snow, just a little bit. The top half of the branch, I almost don't touch except down here. I made the whole branch a little darker. So it's up to you how you want to fill this in. I'm using my small square shader. And like I said, this part here is going to be snow, but it already has the blue pearl on it. You can change the snow to another location. That does too. But I think when you put the Copenhagen on, it's just going to make it look fine. So I'm going to put a little Copenhagen on the top, just a little, and a little on the bottom. I'm doing a flat load of Copenhagen. And I'm just barely touching it. See? Just barely touching it. Very simple. And then just running it across the top so that I kind of know where the snow will be. So that, and here I might want to shade that whole side. And here I think I'm going to put a little more shade on it. You can kind of play with it as you're doing it. You can see what you've done. And then with the branches, okay, well, let's finish the snow. Here's snow here. So I'm going to, oops. Yeah, I don't want the paint buildup. If you think your paint's building up, tilt it and look at it, and you'll be able to tell. If it's building up, it'll leave like a line that you're not crazy about, and you may actually hate seeing it, especially on the luster. So I would say, you know, be very careful and decide what it is that you want. You can also tap it with your finger. That helps sometimes. This is snow, so with the snow, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Okay, and here I'm going to do a little there, and here I'm going to do a little there. Okay. Now I'm going to do the branch. I'm going to do the branch upside down. And the reason I'm doing the branch upside down is, first of all, it's round. So if I turn it upside down like this and paint from the bottom up, it will give it more of that round feeling. So that's why I'm doing that. And you might wonder, what the heck is she doing? Hang on, I'm just going to go out here for a minute. If you get a few lines in it, it's like no big deal, because the branch usually has some kinds of lines coming this direction around it. So see, it's kind of a drop and lift kind of thing. If you're doing this, you're going to put the color on and lift it in a C motion. See how pretty that is? It'll really be pretty next time. And next time we'll talk a lot about different kinds of medium. I should tell you a little bit right now. For next time, you're going to need either a pen oil, if you have it, or you're going to, and if you have it, I find if you have the drying pen oil and you've never used it, this is a good opportunity to use it. Because the drying pen oil, I did some experimentation while we were off, and I found that the drying pen oil made a huge difference. Oops, got to make it C's. See the difference when it's a little C? It really looks more like the branch. Now, if I'm getting a little close here, and I'm painting upside down, so of course I can't see really what I'm doing. So I'm going to turn it around eventually, and then I'll make corrections. But right now I'm just getting the paint on the underside of the branches where I want it. Now I said these branches down here, I pretty much painted all blue. And I outlined these in blue with my brush very carefully because I am going to put pen work over them. So now I'm going to flip it around. Oh, and I think I want a little bit of shadow down here. This is a good shadow color. It blends well with the... So if you want a little shadow here, let me take that off of there. Get my Q-tips so that I get right down to the luster. And I'm going to put a little back here, I think. There, that's better. Okay. So now I flipped it around. I'm wiping the color off my brush. There we go. And then here, I'm just going to pull it down, press and pull, press and lift. You want to be able to see some of the shine underneath. That was the whole point of putting the color on here. Alrighty, I'm pretty happy with that. Some places, like back here, right in that spot, I get confused between the blue pearl. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you, I discovered this while I was off, and it was an eye-opener. I hadn't expected it to actually work, but it does. Somebody mentioned, I don't know who it was, that they use matte paint to give them a little bit of almost like enamel. So this is matte paint that I'm putting on here, just a tad. I want to give it a little texture on the snow. Now, I'm just doing this because I realized that my snow is a little bit too dark in those couple of spots right here, and a little here too. And I thought that might help. So I tried this. I'm working on a project, and I tried using the matte paint as enamel. Well, it worked better than I expected it to. So if you have a situation, yeah, that lightened it, see, and it will fire in pretty nicely. So if you have a situation where you want to lighten something and you want to use a white matte will do it for you. So this is the little guy that I have so far. This is the one I've done just today, and he's pretty cute, isn't he? I'm going to fire him as is, but I would say try to get the depth in on this time so you don't have to put the pen oil over it, because if you get any of the paint on the pen oil, it's just not going to look as sharp. Okay? Alrighty. Pick up those brushes. Keep painting. See you next time. Bye-bye.